It's time now for the Sports Objective Podcast. No talking heads, just guys who love sports. Here's Dave Richmond.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. With us right now, a great guy, one of my best friends, Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you?
What's going on, Dave?
I'm doing well, sir, and glad to have you on. And one of my other best friends is Bubba Rosenbaum. He's definitely not an enemy, right?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hope you guys are. I thought you there for a minute with Kyle. I thought you started to say Baba.
Yeah. I was going to say that, but anyway, we had Kyle Chase on. We're having him for a 50 for 50, but we didn't have Kyle with us. So Kyle on the same show.
What did you? I missed that. When did that get recorded?
Yesterday. So we missed old Kyle. But anyway, no, actually it was nighttime. But anyway, we had him on last night, and certainly I want to mention folks to thank you so much for Bubba and Kyle, everybody, for 50 for 50, the 50 days of 50 Pirates. It's been huge for us. Probably wouldn't you guys say the worst month as far as sports is concerned, July? I mean, as far as like not a lot going on, not a lot happening, but we were all ready for this new season with Coach Houston, and here we are knocking at the door. I can't believe 1 month away virtually from kickoff for ECU at NC State in Raleigh.
Yeah, practice starts this week. Thank God. College football's back.
Yep. As we're recording this on Wednesday night, the team reports on Thursday morning, and then they'll be out on the Clifford practice facility first thing Friday morning. So we'll have your practice report, and we'll talk about that first day under Coach Mike Houston and stuff.
Hey, by the way, Kyle, good news. I know Bubba saw it. Per our friend Stephen Igo from Hoist the Colors, it looks like Travion Freshwater will be reporting on Thursday, tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Will he be able now? Is he going to have to do a academic red shirt, or is he going to be eligible to play?
I didn't see that part. Did you, Bubba? I didn't see. Just it says that unless things.
No, he didn't specify anything like that. He just said that barring a last minute snag, that Travion Freshwater will be reporting. So
yeah, it may be a good idea, even if he's qualified.
Right.
With
I agree with that.
His problem was great. Give him an academic red shirt, and or to just red shirt him and let him concentrate on academics for his first year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And guys, with the course load is so much. I don't know how these guys do it. I know they have an academic staff and all that, but the transition as a normal college kid alone is really rough. I can't imagine. Bubba, you went through that. How hard is it to make the transition from a high school kid to college when playing sports?
One of the biggest things is just the amount of running you do. A lot of the guys are. Don't get me wrong. There's certainly an adjustment that takes place in the weight room, especially depending on how committed. But one of the big things now that the trend has been enrolling early and enrolling for spring ball, not only the summer sessions, but by enrolling in the spring, that adjustment takes place even more smoothly. But the running is the biggest thing, even more so than the weight room, because it takes a lot of discipline, and when you don't have the rest of the team to run with, getting out and running on your own or running with maybe one or two other people is a lot more challenging. And so that's one of the benefits of enrolling early. You can get that running in with the rest of the team.
I would imagine you get a leg up, if you will, as far as academics, right? I mean, you can get your feet wet about the college life period. Then you got a great guy like Big John Williams. You can get in that weight room, back in, so that would be, January? So you're the beginning of the year. You got, 6 months, 7 months ahead of what normally would be a incoming freshman coming in?
Right. You can go ahead and get, obviously, at least 12 hours in a semester, and then depending on whether you take one or two summer classes per session, you can knock quite a bit of credit hours out of the way there during a semester in the summer sessions, anywhere from 24 to 30 hours or more.
I want to mention to you guys, I know, Bubba, I know you something we're working on, but very happy to hear they announced, was it yesterday, the new class for the ECU Hall of Fame. And I know a lot of I was really happy with this class. It's one of the best classes we've had in a while, in my opinion.
Yeah. Good to see Junior Smith finally get in. Junior is a guy who did a lot of big things at East Carolina as a player and a coach. Holds a lot of records at ECU. And it's great to see him get in. Obviously, Dave Hart, well-deserving. Did a lot of great things in the Peach Bowl era and bailed us out again here lately.
Yeah.
And then
money well spent, right, guys?
With the Mike Houston hire, definitely. And then Kevin
Gilbert
Miller. Gilbert too, but particularly Mike Houston.
And Joe Dooley.
Right, Dooley also. And then Kevin Miller, one time he was the all-time leading scorer in ECU history because of all the field goals and extra points he made. I don't know if that record still stands.
Yeah, he was surpassed by Ben Hartman, and then after Ben Hartman, Warren Harvey.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I believe Warren Harvey currently holds that, and that's not surprising considering the number of points we put up.
Yes.
A lot of points, man. That's a good point. And Sam Nairn, the baseball went under baseball. I remember that name. And Bubba, help me out. There's one more, right, that I'm missing.
Yeah, women's basketball. Tamika Blackman. And I've actually already reached out to her, and she will be coming on the show as well as Kevin Miller. So we'll definitely have the two of them, and we're trying to get the other three on as well.
Is Kevin Miller still trying to be involved in broadcasting, Bubba?
I am not sure. I know I believe he's living in the Richmond, Virginia area now, so he's not in the area as frequently, but I believe he's involved in sales or like a regional manager or something to that effect.
He tried to get involved in broadcasting and did a couple of East Carolina games, and he did a really good job, actually.
Yeah, I recall that. I don't believe I was able to view or hear those particular games that he was calling, but I do remember that. Something else on the football front, guys. We got another commitment, our 18th. Shane Calhoun, 6'3", 230-pound tight end in H-back from down in Florida. And he had a boatload of offers. Some of the more prominent offers he had were USF, Rutgers, Cincinnati, Colorado State. We talked about them recruiting this region. There they are again, App State, and he also, as so many of our commits do, they have offers from one or two, or maybe even all three academies.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to a friend of mine about that the other day, about all the kids we're recruiting this year under Houston with academy offers. It shows you two things. One, he's going to want to run the football. Two, he wants physical kids who got a head on their shoulders.
Right.
And another thing is that Ryan Robinson, a guest that we're going to have on tonight on today's show, is the very fact of that this group with Mike Houston and their staff, they're looking for quality kids. They're looking for kids that are good in the classroom, good character, and if you can't have that, if you don't have that, you're not going to make it in the service academies.
Right. It goes to the good head on their shoulders.
Well, yes, it does. And hopefully we'll see the benefits. I think we will in the next 3-4 years with Mike Houston. And you know what? I love those people who were saying when Houston got hired, any coach would be on football, he's only going to be here a few years. I said, well, hey, that's fine with me because that means that he's here for a few years. The program gets turned down and maybe levels we've never seen before, and we'll get another good coach. There's plenty of great coaches out there, not knocking Mike Houston. He's just, to me, the best fit at this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. The alternative is what we had the previous 3 years.
Because nobody wants, especially a team that has him. So, if Houston wins and moves on, then that means they're successful, and what we got to do is make the right hire. That's simple as that. But let's win a few games first, guys, before we talk about that.
Sticking with the big three, that's what Joe Dooley made in addition to his staff. That's what George Wright Easy. That's what he is he'd been the coach of the Dexter School up in Massachusetts, which is, if that sounds familiar, it should, and that's where Charles Coleman is from. So we've added Coach Wright Easy to the staff, and Ken Potosnak. A lot of people say Potosnak, but I think it's actually Potosnak. But at any rate, Coach Potosnak's duties are going to be adjusted, so it'll be interesting to see how that is going forward. He has been in the business, Coach Potosnak, that is, for going on 25 years or so now, maybe longer. So it may be a thing that he's perfectly okay with the move, and he may not be making a move because he's unhappy with this. He may be at that stage in his coaching career that he wants the responsibilities that he's going to have rather than him just kind of being forced out. So something else on the basketball front, and I put this on our social media, on Twitter at least, a few days ago, but some of our non-conference dates have been announced by the opponents, and they haven't been announced by ECUPirates.com yet. But on November 12th, we will be playing at App State. That's a Tuesday night at 7 p.m.
I wonder if Bubba's going to be there.
You know I will be, unless Riley has something going on or Reese has something going on. I'll be there if at all possible.
What if Stacy has something going on?
Oh, well, of course. But
Kylie got very quiet.
No, odds are what she'll have going on is going to the game with me. But November 30th. We go up to Harrisonburg to play JMU. That is a Saturday, and that game time is still to be announced. And then on Sunday, December the 22nd, the Charlotte 49ers come to Minges, and that game time is still to be announced.
All right,
very excited. Yeah, I'm excited about the schedule because, we talked about this before. We'll briefly mention it again, but the people that are going to talk about the schedule for basketball don't understand the way basketball works and what used to be called RPI, which is net now, the NET, and we have to worry about. We just have to take what the schedule, the games we can get, win a whole bunch of games, and then that's the way that we'll be able to. We're kind of like at the bottom of the ladder. You have to climb the rung, so to speak, and every rung, and the biggest one we have to worry about now is certainly winning more games, and then that way more teams will start to play us because they can play us. If they play us now, it hurts them in the long run when it comes to postseason in March.
Right, and I think that'll start to change a little bit even this year with Dooley being doing the scheduling.
Yeah, and also the fact that, guys, I just want to mention too, Dooley was amazing with all the problems we had with guys leaving the program, guys, obviously all the stuff, and then when we had the guys with the different issues, let's just say off the court, so to speak, and I know Bubba with grades and different things, he's done a nice job turning things around, and oh my gosh, when he came here, things were just in terrible shape when it comes to grades and academics.
Billy's done a heck of a job turning things around, with the kids, academics, grades, and all that kind of stuff. And some guys have had to leave the program for various reasons. He's bringing in his own kids, and we'll see the results. Speaking of turning things around, guys, Ryan Robinson stepped into Shelley Benninger's job and have turned things around.
I think so. I think you ready to go with him?
I am.
All right. We had a chance to sit down with him this week, and let's go to the interview with Ryan Robinson now. Well, this time of year, we're getting ready for Pirate football, and Bubba, we have a very special guest, right?
Yeah, very excited to have with us the Executive Associate AD for External Operations from East Carolina, Ryan Robinson. Ryan, welcome in.
How we doing, guys?
Doing great. How are you?
Good to be on. We're plugging along, man. It's first week of football, so we're excited.
I tell you what, it's hard to believe it's here, and we were just talking to you a little bit ago, and we wanted to have you back on because of very excited about season ticket sales. I feel like that the numbers are pretty much maybe stagnant a little bit, but hopefully in the month of August, people getting ready for football season, that we can increase that number to the levels you wanted.
Yeah, I think, I'm encouraged. I mean, we're right around that 13,000, probably maybe 13.5. And as I told you guys before, we're not going to get back to 22,000 in 1 year. But I do, I think hopefully we can get these next 15, 20 days, and then we'll have some single game tickets on sale. But the most important thing is everybody has told me the excitement around when you have a full Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, and we're not there yet. So it's going to take some time, and I understand some people might be taking a wait-and-see mode. I just feel like we have some really good ticket plans right now to get in, because I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting this year. I watch our team, in the off season, and I'm around Coach Houston every day, and they've got a plan to bring Pirate football back, and we need as many people as possible in that Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. We open the season at home on September 7th to give us that advantage.
Ron, your title is Director of External Operations. What does that mean exactly? What exactly do you do for people that don't know?
Well, I oversee our ticketing, our marketing, our media relations, our video, and then I'm also the sports administrator for men's basketball, which I'm really excited about, some of the stuff we've been able to do this off season. But really anything that, dealing with the public, and work closely with Jon Gilbert and J.J. McGlam and all of our other staff. It's a wide range. Some days I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I have a ton of things on the plate. But the main thing we want to do is we want our fans and the Pirate Nation to have the best experience possible when they come into our venues, and that's on us. Winning is not a marketing strategy. We're not going to win every game. But I think what's important right now, and I know John's preaching this, is we need as many people as possible to kind of be on this journey with us. And in that journey, you're going to have some victories. We're going to celebrate on Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium together. But guess what? We need you during those challenging times too. And I understand they haven't had much success here the last 3 or 4 years in football, but I'm convinced that's going to change. And we're going to make it a really good experience at Dowdy-Ficklen. And some of the improvements already, I pull up every day and see the Town Bank Tower. I see our new practice field. I see what we're doing with some graphics. I see our locker room. There's a lot of good things happening right now on this campus.
Ron, since you've been here, you talk about marketing and external operations and making the game day experience better. Obviously, like you said, this is not up to you guys winning and losing. That's up to the coaching staff and the football team. What have you heard from most Pirate fans? What kind of feedback have you heard about things they want to see, changes they want to see at Dowdy-Ficklen to enhance their game day experience?
Well, obviously a lot of people love the new tower, and then, if you haven't seen the new white lot, it's all paved now, so you're not driving in mud.
You're talking about the rich people. How about the common folk?
Well, the common folk, one of the things I'm really excited about is we are going to have a kids zone this year. We've heard from a lot of people about, you get in that second quarter, halftime, and the kids don't have anything to do. We're putting a kids zone area, which will be, I believe, right behind Section 9. And really excited about it. We've been meeting on it every day, trying to figure out everything we exactly want in it. But that's going to be you're going to have inflatables, you're going to have face painters, we're going to have charging station now, where parents can charge their cell phones.
Good. I like that.
Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of those things, and then obviously just being better. And I say that in a way, we got to be better in our concession stands with our service. We got to be better getting into the stadium. We got to be more helpful. We're not ready yet to talk about concession prices, but that is something we're meeting with daily. We're meeting with them daily, and they understand we're going to have some certain items that are going to be cheaper. Obviously, the sale of alcohol is going to change a lot. You're talking 70 or 80 different places that you're probably going to be able to buy, alcohol. There's going to be a lot of places that you can buy it. So we're working through that. This month of August is going to be, this first 15 days is going to be crucial for us as we kind of put this all together and kind of leading into, Meet the Pirates on August 17th. But I guess an easy answer to that, we just got to be better. We got to be more helpful. We just got to be better in everything we do. You can't change everything in 1 year, but I think you're going to see some changes really quickly.
One thing you mentioned, not talking about concession prices and not asking you just a statement on my part. One of the things that bugs me to no end is paying $4 and $5 for a Coca-Cola or a bottle of water. Not so much the food prices. Food prices are, reasonable enough for a stadium. But those prices to hydrate yourself, particularly these hot games where you're trying to buy water and Powerade, and I'm dropping $40 to stay hydrated when it's hot out, that's just asinine to me.
Yeah, we've got to be smarter about it. But I will tell you, those are, everywhere I go, I look at prices. I was at High Point this year during basketball season. I went up there to look at some stuff. Everywhere I go, I look at prices. We're going to drop some, but you also got to be careful. It is it's a way the athletic department too makes money as well. But we can't, for heat management games, I think obviously we'll allow 1 or 2 bottles of water in. We're still working through that, but we just got to lower some prices when it comes to food and, like you said, water and drinks. And I think what I learned from baseball is the Pirate Nation, they love some hot dogs too. I tell you, dollar hot dogs at baseball on Thursday is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Sometimes they were selling out in the third or fourth quarter. But going back to that water, the main thing too is obviously the price, but we got to have it available. It can't run out. It's always got to be available, and that's important. But you stand to lose. You'll lose money when you lower prices, and that's something that we're dealing with right now. That's just the bottom line. When you lower prices, you're going to lose money. But I think we have to look at it sometimes as an investment to get people in our facilities and our venues. So we're going to be smart about it, but I think people will be happy.
One more thing I wanted to ask you. I'm short on time. I'm not trying to hog the interview, Ryan. The other two guys are going to get in questions, but I'm going to have to drop out of here soon. You talked about beer and wine sales. Are we going to have any local breweries? We have a lot of great local breweries in Eastern North Carolina. Are we going to have any of those guys taking part in beer and wine sales, or are we just talking, Anheuser-Busch, et cetera?
Yeah, it's my understanding that we'll probably have some local breweries that'll be able to sell their beer at the concession stands. And those are all conversations right now that we're having with Airmark and with our campus as we try to, remember this just happened. We've been prepared for it, but we actually have a task force meeting today on campus where we're going to continue to talk about it because we got to be we're going to have a safe environment, and that's important. So I'm hoping here in the next couple of weeks we'll have a full outline of some of the different things, some of the things that are going to be available from an alcohol and wine perspective. But it's going to add, that's going to add some excitement. But we also got to make sure we have our safety measures in place. I can guarantee you one thing: you're going to be able to get a cold beer.
Kyle, that's what Kyle's worried about there. Ryan. He wants to make sure the beer is extra cold. And I was going to throw in, when you talk about it running out, please don't run out of beer with, how Pirates are and the Pirate beverages. Please don't run out of beer. I
just went on a golf trip with 11 Pirates, and running out of beer, they let it be known quickly that is not acceptable.
I was in line at Walmart the other day, and the poor guy, the older man, couldn't lift the beer on to put it up to pay for it. And I was like, if you can't do that, then you may not be, you may probably not buy the beer.
Ryan, I had one more thing before I drop out and let these two guys finish this interview, and it picks up a lot of quality. One thing, this is just a personal preference. I ran it by Dave and Bubba here, and they kind of second the thoughts. So there's 3 of us. At the end of games for years, when we win, we have played All We Do Is Win. I'm sure you're familiar with the song. Yeah. That song is to the point. It's so played out. It's not a classic. It's old. It's a big difference between a classic and old, and it's not a tradition because everybody does it. Can we please play something else? Can we play Purple Haze again after a win? Or maybe, there's a song, I don't know if you ever heard it, called Getting Down in a Pirate Town. Something unique to East Carolina. I think would, be a cool tradition besides the same generic mess everybody else plays.
You know what? That is duly noted. I haven't even went as far as what we play after a win. I'm just hoping we do win. I will tell you, I think one of the cool things for fans is going to be able to be out on the field after the game. I think that's just a really cool opportunity with, I remember my dad, if my dad could have let me do that after some of the Kentucky football games, that would have been really cool. But I will duly note that. I will talk to our marketing department, and see what they can do. But I will say that's a good problem to have.
In fact, I'd like to hear, I'm an 80s kid, so I'd love to hear Celebration and Purple Rain. I mean, Purple Rain, but Prince, everybody loves that song. So
yeah, it's going to be, I will definitely mention that to the great Eric Ward today. And I didn't even know we play that after a game, but I will mention that to him.
We want to really increase the, as you know, I've talked to you before about spring football, and for next year, we were hoping we could get a big concert in for after the spring football game to really, I guess, improve the quality of that experience again, the way it used to be under Dave Hart in the 80s. And we were wondering if we could get somebody like Bon Jovi that could, a big name that we could bring in and get a lot of people there, even some non-Pirate fans that would come and make some money for our program.
No, it's a great idea. We've discussed it. I mean, you just got to make sure the finances are right. I mean, these groups aren't cheap. The Pigskin Pigout is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better. I do think there's a part of me that wouldn't mind having it, on a baseball weekend as well, where you can kind of add a lot of different things to it. So we've continued to look at it. This year, rain kind of hampered us, but I was really happy with the way it turned out this year, even having to go indoors. But that would be terrific if we could, and it's something that's on the table. But we have to make sure that everything we do right now is financially efficient and smart as we build this department and this program. But I would love it. I'm a huge Kenny Chesney fan. I'd love to see Kenny Chesney and Dowdy Ficklin.
I'd love that.
There's a lot of moving parts, but we definitely want to add some more elements next year to the Pigskin Pigout. Like I said, I was happy with this year. It's just you can't control Mother Nature, and that's unfortunate. But I think the biggest thing too, Dave, is let's have some success on the field, and I think it opens up a lot of different avenues for us.
Oh, you beat me to the punch again. I was going to say that very thing. It's probably going to come down to, we all know that when we have folks that are obviously worried about the budget, but what it comes down to in our business, or this business, is wins and losses. And winning, I wouldn't say go all end all be all. Winning cures everything, but it certainly cures a lot.
Well, it helps. I mean, let's not make any mistake about it. We've got to get our football program back to being with some stability and being successful. When I talk about going from 13,000 tickets to 22,000, you're talking about a lot more revenue too for the program that we can spend on, because you're at a point now where you have to invest in these programs. For example, men's basketball. I look over the last, 6 months, I give credit to John and Joe Dooley, but I mean, we got our academics are basically, we're on the right path there. Minji's court's getting redone. We're hoping to, kind of start some stages on a new locker room. So we have the most generous donors I've ever been around. And I think the motto of every dollar matters truly, it does. Every dollar matters. And we have to invest, man. This is a tough conference we play in. If you saw basketball games, Dave, I know you went to some, and football, it's a tough conference. And, I know people talk about the arms race, and I don't look at it like that. I think it's just making sure that you're competitive in your conference and giving the student athletes things and the coaches, because let's not lie, guys, recruiting it's the lifeblood. It's the lifeblood of building a program. And what I like about Mike, he's getting recruits, but they're also solid human beings.
And I want to mention to you, Ryan, that we've said it many times on the podcast. I know you're busy. You maybe you're not able to hear it, but you and John have done a tremendous job. Before I forget, I want to thank you personally for all that you guys have done. I know that you've been working almost like when I say half days in radio, it's like 12, 14 hours a day for folks who don't know. Drinking, I'm sure, a lot of caffeine, maybe some Monster energy drinks. I don't know.
Spark, Advocare Spark. I'm naturally caffeinated. I wake up happy and ready to roll, but I do drink Advocare Spark. It kind of gets me going a little bit, but I don't drink coffee. I don't drink Coke or anything like that. But I appreciate it. We've got a lot of work to do, but man, we've got a really good staff too that it takes time. You all have been in businesses, but as you change cultures, and you got to show people that you care. And I do. I care about this job. I care about this community. I care about the people I get to work with. And it's going to pay off. I'm just telling you, and I tell everybody that I talk to, Pirate Nation, it's going to pay off. Like just watching this baseball season and what Cliff is doing, we got to get the other programs to that level.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to talk about the three major programs right now with football, basketball, and baseball. I mentioned to the guys on the podcast, and the listeners already know, but I want to mention this to you. If you'd have told me last year at this time that fast forward to now that we would have a baseball team very close to Omaha, you have a basketball team that recently has a top 10 recruiting class, and that's no joke. It's the real deal with Coach Joe Dooley and his staff. You look what Mike Houston's doing with his recruiting class. We could have it really close, Ryan, in a matter of years, where you could have a coach that's going to Omaha, a coach that's going to the NCAA basketball tournament, and you'd also have a coach that has the potential to go to a New Year's Six Bowl. If you told me that a year ago, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, but it takes time, I think a lot of it is we got to support these coaches, and I'll throw in women's basketball just for the fact that, too, is, this ESPN deal is big for men's and women's basketball and football. Obviously all our sports are going to benefit from it, but that's going to be great. And I will tell you, our new women's basketball coach, she's something else. I love what she's doing, but that takes time to build a program. And, you're right. And you get in the NCAA tournament, Dave, with some of these men's and women's basketball, the exposure you get for the university, because at the end of the day, it's all about the university. It's all about East Carolina. And the more we can do to help admissions and help enrollment as we go through some budget issues is only going to help. So we're very aligned with the university. They want success too. We're going to try to give our coaches everything we can. We have to be smart about it. But you're right. There's excitement around so many different programs on this campus. I just met last week with Jason Hamilton, our soccer coach, and I walked out of his office, and I don't play soccer. I'd probably have to be a goalkeeper, but I was ready to roll. We have some really good coaches in this department.
Yeah, and not only that, but I want to mention the fact you can't think of a program now that in sports, as far as the athletic department, that you go, wow, yeah, I wish we could improve. We can always improve, but to the point of where the teams are an embarrassment, and I don't mean that to be harsh or real, but so everyone seems to be going in the right direction.
Yeah, we got to be competitive, and I think some people say, "Oh, we're going to compete for a championship." I want to just compete, because when you compete, that's obvious that you're trying to win. I don't think any coach is going in saying, "You know what, I just want to try to finish 8th in the conference." Right. You're trying to compete, and you get competitive in your conference, you're going to give yourself to win a championship. So that's really the biggest word I can say is compete and do it the right way. And we have some just unbelievable student athletes and coaches and support staff. But we got to show people it's important. Men's basketball is important here, and we have to show that. Women's basketball is important. We have to kind of show that all of our sports are important, and I think that's on us. It's part of the reason we did the free admission for women's soccer and women's volleyball, is getting people in our venues. Because I know, I'm around. The Pirate Pride is it is strong, and we just got to get people in our venue. And most importantly, Dowdy Ficklin Stadium. I look at our schedule every day, and for some reason I know Thursday night games might not be as popular here, but that game fires me up. ESPN, national television, a chance to show off Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, Mike Houston, and how far we've come. That really excites me.
Ryan, I was mentioning to the fellas, we had Steve and I going last week, the game to get over the hump as far as our program right now, every game is important. Don't get me wrong. We need a lot of people in that Thursday night game. That Temple game is crucial. It may be the difference of every game is important, don't get me wrong, but that Temple game we've struggled with the last handful of years, even with good teams. If you can find some way to win that game that night, that's going to help us have a chance to go into a bowl this year.
Yeah, I like our schedule. I talked to Mike about it, and, he'll tell you. I mean, this conference is competitive, man. It is week after week. You're going to be battling, and then obviously next year UConn goes away, so it's going to kind of change some of the dynamics. But I mean, what better schedule when you lead off with that team down the road in Raleigh to start the season? And that's a good test. It's a good test to see where you're at as a program. Like I said, Mike's only been here since December. It takes time to build a culture of accountability and teaching these guys how to win. And I think that's what Mike is doing. And I tell you, if I'm a Pirate right now, I want to be a part of it because this is going to be a fun year.
One of the things, we recently had John on the podcast, and one of the things
will my ratings be better than John's?
We'll let you know. We'll send you an email. Bubba and I, he's the numbers guy, but I look at him as well. But he gets big numbers. You got big numbers last time, so that's why we invited you back on. Right. And we like you a lot too for everything you're doing.
I appreciate it.
One of the things I mentioned, you mentioned the people in Raleigh. The folks in Chapel Hill have a big, aggressive campaign as far as fundraising. I know that their budget is big and all that, but I think it was like $100 million fundraising over a handful of years to improve their athletic facility, and that's something, not to copy them, but I tip my hat to them because that's something. I think one of the things that's missing is that people, when they're spending their hard-earned money as far as fundraising goes, those of us that are not the millionaires, the $100 donors, the $5,000 donors, we want to see like progress. You look at the campus, and you look at the buildings going up. I know that that's state money and all that, but I'm hoping we can see some kind of aggressive campaign, including the scuttlebutt for everybody talking about Pirate Nation right now is an indoor practice facility. I know that's something you guys have been talking about. Do you have any breaking news or anything you can tell us as far as that, how that's coming?
No, but I mean, I will tell you, and I know sometimes we get kind of stuck in our own area, but some of our facilities are top notch. I mean, I pull up today, and you look at Dowdy Ficklin with his town bank, but also some of the beautification that's going on around it. I don't know how long it's been since you've been over here, but you start talking about two new turf practice fields, one for auxiliary sports, one for football, a new redesign of Minji's. Any coach will tell you our two practice facilities for men's and women's basketball are as good as it gets. John said it best. It's interesting you said that. It's interesting you said that, Dave, because John was telling me the other day, we were talking about the conference, and he said, I don't know if there's anybody in our conference that has more passion among their fans, and to have this kind of 50,000-seat stadium right here on campus, those are two things we got to build off of. But, no, you're right. I mean, you've got to continue to keep improving in all your facilities. But I do think the Pirate Club is a major part of that. Anybody that gives $100 to Pirate Club, that is valuable. I mean, those dollars matter. They matter for scholarships. They matter for some other things that we're able to do. But I think you'll start to see that, David. I mean, an indoor facility is a huge undertaking, depending on how much money you want to spend and where you want to put it. Is it something that's out there? Yes. Is it something that right now we're sitting here having meetings about? No. We have a couple other things that we've got to continue to look at and improve. I know, Mike, with football, there's more, graphic stuff that's very important. It might not be important to me saying on the radio, but it's very important to recruiting. So we understand that it's a need, but I will tell you, I worked for the Jacksonville Jaguars for 10 years, and we didn't have an indoor facility. So does it hamper you sometimes? Absolutely. Would it be tremendous to have? Absolutely. It would add a lot. So it's definitely something that we're not ignoring.
Well, I know there's something that the reason I brought it up is something that takes time. I also want to mention that I appreciated the fact when you gave them, I know this is coming up again for people to see Town Bank Tower, but one of the things I remember you talking with the media beforehand is the very fact about transparency. And that's one of the things that I hear as a man on the street kind of question or thing. The feedback I keep getting over and over again through everywhere is the fact people are really appreciative of the fact you guys have been that word transparent. We know what's going on from the helm with John writing the letters on ECUPirates.com. You could all you guys have been at ball games talking to people. I mean, you could go on, and I'm not trying to kiss up to you. I really mean that.
No. I mean, we're going to be transparent. I mean, I kind of say it facetiously, but there are no secrets. I mean, we're all in this together because the only way we're going to be successful is with, Pirate Nation behind us. And Jon, I've known Jon a long time, and that's just kind of, he practices what he preaches. We're not going to, we don't go into silos here in our department anymore. There's open lines of communication, and are we going to get everything right? No, but I tell you what, we're going to try to do everything we can in the best interests of East Carolina. But yeah, I mean, Jon, Jon's just been a joy to work with because Jon, he learned from Dave Hart, Jon has a vision of what he wants to accomplish, but he allows his people to do what's necessary to do that. And I was just in a meeting before you guys took off, and we're still planning out how this ESPN contract is going to take over in 2020 and what we're going to do. So you're constantly planning for the future, but we want Pirate Nation to know what we're planning.
Ryan, earlier you talked about the game day atmosphere. You've been at Tennessee. You've seen the Vol Walk. You know what a walk like that can do for the game day atmosphere and also the impact it can have on recruiting. I know Coach Houston shares that vision, and that's something that has been done in the past but hasn't always necessarily been done well, in my opinion. It's kind of been an afterthought, in my opinion. It's if you want to do it, then do it the best you possibly can. And I think this year, I heard you reference it last week when you were on 94.3 with the ECU takeover. I think you're planning on getting Steve the Pirate involved, and then is it going to be right there behind the Town Bank Tower?
Yeah, it'll be behind Town Bank Tower, so they'll kind of drop off at that baseball stadium, right near the baseball, across from like the batting cage. And they'll walk all the way down, and we'll have the cheerleaders, the band, Stevie the Pirate. I think the other thing that's going to be pretty cool is the football team is not going to come out, they're not going back in at halftime to the weight room. So, fans are going to see our players walking in and out of the field, start the game, and we'll have it kind of roped off. But, I mean, you're going to be right there in the action. They're going to be very accessible. So, you can bring your kid down there, watch our players come out, leave at halftime. So I'm really excited about that. I know it sounds like a little thing, but once you get here, it's pretty cool to be able to see the players as they're getting ready to take off on the field before a game. So we're taking advantage of the fact that I think we have a really nice locker room. And I don't know the reasons before of using the weight room, but I like the fact that we're going to use our locker room and make that walk out. But the Pirate Walk, it's only as good as the fans, Bubba. I'll be honest with you. At Tennessee, it is a rite of passage where 2.5 hours before the game is the Vol Walk. And what makes it special is all the fans that come out to the Vol Walk. So that's what we've got to create here. It's not going to happen overnight, but you're going to see a lot of publicity leading into the Gardner-Webb game about the time, place, and what better chance to see the players 2 hours before the game as they walk through. And I'm looking forward to the first one because I know what a great one looks like, and I think we have more than enough capability to have that here.
No doubt, Ryan. I tell you what, I'm interested to see that. It's going to be, I know you can't tell us, obviously. I know we've actually had Curtis Seaman on. I know there's a video they're working on,
yeah.
And I'm excited about that. I think that's one thing that with our technology, what people talk about all the time is the fact that, fans are staying home. I was like, yeah, but you miss out on all the pageantry of college football. I know it sounds corny, but that's the way I feel.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I mean, college football, man, it's an experience. Win or lose, you want to be able to take your kids, your buddies, and you want to have an experience. And we have some talented people. I know Port City Films is helping us. We have some talented people in our department. We just added a social media person that I don't know if you've seen it, but I can already tell a drastic difference in what we're doing with football and the other sports. It's only going to get better. We have to allow more inside access to what goes on here to show our fans how our teams prepare, let them get to know our student athletes. And then when you're out there on Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, it's like, hey, I just saw something on, Alex Turner. He's an easy guy to root for. It's going to take time, but I think we're going to see a quick jump in the atmosphere. But you got to get people in the stadium too, David. I mean, that's the key. When you have a half-empty stadium, it's not the same as when you have 50,000.
And we definitely get that. And I want to give you a chance to plug before we let you go. I know you've been generous with your time. And thanks again. How can people get tickets? We always mention this on the podcast every chance we get because we want people to come to Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium in the fall.
You need to go to ECUPirates.com, and it's the place to do. You can go right to there's a tickets link. It's got everything you want, shows you what's available. We got people from 9 to 5 ready to answer your questions. And then the other thing I would say is become a member of the Pirate Club. I think it's important. It's valuable. It comes along with a lot of benefits. And I'm looking forward to everybody being at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. I know this is the first year under Mike Houston, but let's make it a great year and just keep building off of it.
And no matter the outcome as far as the record is concerned, I definitely feel like the program is headed in the right direction, not only football, but the whole athletic program. Thank you so much. I, again, appreciate what you, John, the whole staff, all the coaches are doing. And don't be a stranger. Hopefully we can have you back on during the season.
Well, I hope to see you guys at Meet the Pirates on August 17th. It's going to be a fun day. Is it August 17th or 16th? I'm sorry, my day.
It's 17th, the media day. You'll definitely see us. We'll be there.
Yep. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Right. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Ryan. I know that certainly we need to, while we have a chance, this is the perfect time. I've been waiting on purpose to ask you, Kyle. I know that I'm going to give you the floor because you wanted to ask Ryan a question and put it out there. We'll reach back out to Ryan, but you had a really good idea, and I'm not going to mention it because it was your idea, so I'll let you take the floor and mention that, what you wanted to mention to Ryan.
Yeah, I wish I'd thought it was in. I had just had a thought, I've seen it at other stadiums, amusement parks, etc. Why not at the beginning of the year, maybe something, probably too late now, but maybe something that could be sold to Meet the Pirates in the first couple games of the year. Or you can sell it really all year. Sell a cup for about $15, or whatever price they'd come up with. Reusable cup with a lid, and as long as you bring that cup to the game with you, you can refill it for say $1 each time you want to refill. It would create more revenue by selling those cups because they would sell a lot of them. And you could do a limited number of them. If you don't want to make it unlimited, limit it to 1,000 people. Then they're going to get sold. And once they're sold, like you said, you bring that cup with you and you can refill it for $1 a refill. And it would save you money in the long run. And it's something that I think would be very popular.
I think it's an outstanding idea. They do that, at the amusement parks with the drinks. And obviously another one to mention would be popcorn. They do that in the movie theaters where you pay so much per season, and then each time you get the refill, you could do the same thing. You look at families like all of us, we have, and then Kyle, you mentioned an interview with Ryan about the things to stay hydrated. You spend like $40, $50 just trying to stay hydrated. Why not? I don't have a problem. Yeah, I don't have a problem. And I'll say this. I don't have a problem with, I know that there's some places that if you have healthier options, they charge you less. Why not have a bottle of water at $2 a bottle of water?
Even $3. I think $2 would be reasonable. Even $3. I mean, I think $2 for the small, $3 for the bigs would be fine. It's still a market, but still a lot of money being made. I don't know about the brand they sell, but we sell 32-ounce Deer Park bottled water where I work at the canteen, and we sell it at cost, and it's $0.25 a bottle, and that's for a 32-ounce sports bottle.
Right. That's what I'm saying, that they could make a killing off of that. And in other words, there are items that that people are going to, the nachos and stuff like that, leave that at regular price, and then give some of the other items, like he said, the hot dogs, and have like ideas like promotional. Another cool thing is, like you see those souvenir cups. You were talking about that.
Yes, if you want to save money, do away with the souvenir cups that everybody just leaves laying there, and just have paper cups. And if you can sell the drinks cheaper that way, I think that'd be great. I mean, those souvenir cups, I guess, are revenue generators, because they sell advertisement on them. But you can put advertisement on paper cups.
Well, not only that, but you could have the different price points. Why not have look at when you look at you go.
We do have two sizes already.
No, I know. I'm saying the paper wise.
Right.
You have the paper wise. Maybe you have that for $1, and you have that a smaller size, but yet you get the souvenir cups for 2 different price points. But
they're never going to sell drinks for $1. That's the whole point of the giant refillable cup idea is to get drinks for $1. That's not going to happen. I would be thrilled to be able to get a fountain drink there for $2.50.
Or or even I'll reduce the cost. I just think the $4 bottled drinks, the sodas, are just like that kind of stuff is just a little bit outrageous. Or
I agree.
And
because
this spring when I was down there for a baseball game, I walked into Dowdy Ficklin. I took a look, took a picture of the concession prices, and the classic red hot dog, $4. The Stadium Frank, $4. You're talking about the drinks. The 20-ounce water, $4. The 1 liter bottle of water is $6.
That's outrageous. I think.
And I get it, and I understand it's revenue for the university. I understand that, but you don't want to do that at the expense of. You don't want to. You want to make money off your customer, and you want to make money for the university, and we give the university money. But at the same time, you don't want to make it tough on a family of 4 to get a damn drink and a hot dog at a game. And also, let me say this, Dave. Ryan said something in that interview that I don't necessarily agree with. He said when you're reducing costs, you're cutting revenue. That's not necessarily true, because Bubba, for example, is a bit thrifty, and he'll refill a water bottle with the water fountain. So that's water he's buying.
I do the same thing, Kyle. No,
exactly. There you go. Well, if water's cheaper, you're just going to go buy more water or a soda rather than just refilling the water bottle. So you got some people who aren't going to buy things, who are going to limit what they buy because it's marked up so much if they're less. And fountain drinks is I don't even remember what fountain drinks cost off the top of my head.
Like $4.
But I know the collectible cups. That's one of the
they are a 22 ounce is $4 and a 32 ounce is $5.
Okay, now forget the little stupid plastic cup, but the markup on that is just beyond ridiculous because you're going to have 50% ice, okay, and then I forget what the cost of fountain sodas is, like per cup with that syrup and the water mixture. I do know at fast food restaurants that is their biggest profit margin, particularly on to-go orders where there's no refills. So, if McDonald's is selling fountain drinks for $1 for a large, McDonald's ain't in the business of losing money. So it's one of those things where I'm not asking for $1 fountain drink.
Yeah.
I would just like $2.50 and $3.50. I'd be happy.
Well, not only that, but you're talking about that with McDonald's. It's kind of like the same thing with before Walmart came through. They had folks that they know that at Walmart the chances are maybe the prices are lower, so people go there and they can sell more items. They can sell more items because of that very reason, because people know that very thing they can.
Yeah, and by the way, and let's be clear on this, it's not an East Carolina only problem. There's a lot of places that do this. There's a lot of places that mark things up, and just because XYZ does it doesn't make it right for ABC to do it. I mean, I know, Walnut Creek Amphitheater in Raleigh, whatever the hell it's called now, they've changed their name 47 dozen times. Prices are even worse there. But it still don't make it right. I just, whether to the point, the prices you were reading, Bubba, a lot of those were just unreasonable.
Another one I hadn't mentioned yet is nachos, $5. Last week I went down to a couple of Braves games, and needless to say, the prices at SunTrust Park were not the famed first pricing that the Atlanta Falcons have implemented. That's for sure. But at the same time, nachos were how much? $3. Nachos and cheese with jalapenos were $3. And so and the same thing at Dowdy Ficklin is $5. So
yeah, and there may be some people here that are listening and that may get angry, but oh well. I mean, we're just saying, as fans, as people who love this university, who are Pirate Club members, who love giving the money, who love giving the university money, we do it voluntarily. We love the school. We're saying the prices are too much. And, you know, Bubba's got children. Dave's got children. I don't have children, but, you know, I'm not a millionaire. And, you know, really, like, my biggest issue is because, quite frankly, I don't have to eat at the games. You know what I mean? If I get hungry, I might get a popcorn or some peanuts. But with the drinks and water, it's robbery, man. And when it's a real hot day, and I'm doing Powerade nonstop and water because, you know, I do not want to get dehydrated, I will drop, you know, $30-$40 for my wife and I, and that's not an exaggeration.
So in other words, we have 3 hot games. You're going to spend more money on water and Powerade. You can buy a season ticket for $99.
No, good point. Good point, Bob. Good point.
And not only that, but
and that's why they're going. And that's why right now they're going. Exactly. That's why we're not lowering prices.
Not only that, but in the Montgomery years, you remember the upper deck?
Yeah, we needed the alcohol sales to start during the Montgomery years. That would have.
Well, that's a nice segue. I was going to mention to you guys. If you think the prices are bad now, just wait till the alcohol. That's going to be terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But you know what? That is
$10, $11. It's going to be $10 or $11 for a beer. You watch.
Well, if it is, they won't sell many of them. That you know, you can do without that. So that's not that big of a deal to me, but I cannot do without staying hydrated.
You don't drink a lot of Gatorades in the parking lots?
No, I don't sit there and I don't like you do with alcohol. No, I don't sit out there and down 5 Gatorades before I go in.
Sounds like a good thing.
Actually, you know, there is something to pre-hydrating. There is something to that, Dave.
Yeah, it is.
We'll see what the alcohol prices are going to be. I would hope, what I hope is we have multiple options for domestic and local breweries, and you have different price points is what I hope.
Right.
We'll see.
That's what we'll see.
If they're charging $8 to $10 for a domestic, then God only knows what they would charge for, you know, something like Mother Earth Brewery.
If they were smart, they would sell them for about $5 or $6.
And by the way, let's be clear, Dave. Let's be clear. We do not know what they're going to sell the alcohol for.
No.
That's speculation.
There's the reason why I said that is it is speculation. But if you went by Ryan, and we'll be fair to him, he said that the prices that we have is like he's been to other places. So if that's the case, we've been to other places too.
Right.
And you go to see concerts like Kyle and I have, and wow, you might be able to afford a beer or two, but I'm not saying I would be drinking a whole bunch. But
right, the best alcohol prices I've seen has been up at the Running Crappers Theater. I was drinking 7 and 7s, big 7 and 7s for $4.50 each, and that's liquor, my friend. That wasn't beer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see how that all plays out with Ryan. You know, they've got a lot of meetings and they've got to figure all this stuff out about that. I thought it was interesting, by the way, Bubba, the kids zone. I thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely good. I like the charging stations.
Oh my God, how many times have you been at a game and we'll be texting each other? The three of us were texting and.
Yeah, and that's something else too. I hope they keep working on the Wi-Fi signal in the stadium.
You know, that's oh my God, it's terrible, especially when we have the Ruff and McNeil years when we had 50,000 in there, 45,000 people. Montgomery, it really didn't matter because you had about 15, 20. I'm sorry. I mean, but
everybody was on their phone checking other scores and watching other games. So.
Well, Bubba, I know you had a chance today to sit down with a very special guest, and do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to sit down with Chuck Reedy, who was the head coach at Baylor from 1993 to 1996. Prior to that, he had served more than a decade on the staff at Clemson. The majority of those years were in the Danny Ford era. He was actually brought in, though, by Charlie Pale before Coach Pale moved on to, I guess it was Florida. So let's go to that interview right now with Chuck Reedy. Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. Very special guest. We're very excited to talk with a college football and high school coaching veteran, more than 40 years combined between those two, Chuck Reedy. Chuck, welcome into the show.
Bubba, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to catching up. A lot to talk about. I want to just take an overview, or get an overview, I should say, of your coaching career. Let's go way back. We're based out of North Carolina, so we're very close. We keep up with the App State program, and I know you're originally from Florida. So talk about there all those years ago when you made that decision to go from St. Augustine, Florida, up to Boone and App State.
Yeah, we actually spent, when I was a child, we spent our summers in Blowing Rock. My grandfather had a house in Blowing Rock, and so we spent all our summers there. So we were very familiar with Appalachian, and so when I got out of high school, was not a great high school football player, but a good enough high school player to have an opportunity to go to Appalachian and be there for 4 years. And, wasn't a great player by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a great experience and, great, it's amazing to see what has happened. I got there actually right after they switched from Appalachian State Teachers College, which goes way back, to Appalachian State University, and had about 8,000 students there at the time, and now obviously well over 20,000, and what they've done with the facilities and just everything is just phenomenal.
Yeah, that program has really exploded. Obviously, all those years in 1AA and then FCS as they changed the way that was identified. But Coach Jerry Moore and all the success he had there, and then his former quarterback Scott Satterfield, who obviously moved on to Louisville. The longevity and the continuity they've had there has been tremendous.
Yeah, it really has. Coach Moore. What a job he did. Interestingly enough, when I went to Clemson in 78, they had brought Coach Moore in. He was at Arkansas at the time. I think that's correct. No, I'll tell you what, he was at Nebraska, I'm sorry. And, they had brought him to Clemson to put in the offense. And, and so the offense we ran at Clemson and actually I've run ever since almost is what he brought from Nebraska. He was out there, with Coach Osborne, might have been with Coach Devaney as well, but certainly with Coach Osborne. And, but anyway, got to know Coach Moore through the years and, what a great guy and certainly a great football coach.
No doubt about it. Great man. So after your time at App State, I know you got into the high school coaching ranks, and just how did you decide, or did you know when you were at App State, when you were playing, that hey, after my playing days are through, that coaching is something I want to do?
Brother, in high school, I was the only guy on the football team that knew what all 11 guys were supposed to do on every play. I mean, if coach, if somebody had a question, he'd say, "Ask Chuck." He knows. But I was fascinated with it. Went to Appalachian, and first day, I decided I was going to major in business because that sounded like what you should do. Went to business classes for one day and said, "This is not for me." Switched to phys ed, and the only thing I ever wanted to do was coach football. And so, obviously when I got out of college, that was my, my goal. And it's hard to imagine, how blessed I've been, but, I had goals set for every 5 years. When I was, I wanted by the time I was 25 to be a head football coach in high school, by the time I was 30 to be in college, and by the time I was, 35, to be a coordinator. By the time I was 40, to be a head coach. And, didn't hit all of those marks, but, actually was real close to hitting every one of them. So, very fortunate, very blessed to be in good places with good people.
So initially your coaching career began in the high school ranks. I believe you spent 3 years in Georgia and then 4 in Florida. So talk about those two opportunities. And then move on to your colleges.
I actually spent 2 years at Appleton County High School in Baxley, Georgia. guy named Leroy Dukes was the head coach. Leroy was a really good football player at Georgia back in the early 60s. Anyway, worked with him for a couple of years, and then went to Baker County High School in McClenny, Florida. And the guy who was the head coach there is a guy named Kay Stevenson, who people will remember if you're a football fan. Kay played at Florida behind Steve Spurrier, but was good enough to be to have an opportunity to play pro football. And eventually Kay was the head football coach of the Buffalo Bills. And so anyway, I had the opportunity to go there and work with him for 1 year, and then he left to go to coach pro football. Actually went to the Rams, and actually was coaching Joe Namath for the 1 year that Namath was there, and so I was able to become the head football coach when I was 24.
That's quite a story for sure. That's what being East Carolina fans, not to get off on a tangent, but that's what one of our very successful coaches in baseball was Keith LeClaire, and he became a head coach in the college ranks at 25. But in other words, so like going from there, I know you spent more than a decade, and you spent the entire Danny Ford era with him there at Clemson. So talk about that. How did you go from being a head high school coach to joining Danny Ford's staff?
I was at Baker County High School for 4 years as a head coach, and so I was in my late 20s, and was ready. I was single at the time, and just was ready to make a move, to try to get into college football, which was not easy, if you're not a guy that that was a good player at a school, or unless you have connections or whatever. And I just I sent letters to every college I could think of, and I actually had an opportunity. Got to know a guy at the University of Kentucky. I got to know him. Jim Nyblack had been the head football coach at Gainesville High School in Florida, and what have you. Anyway, I got on at the University of Kentucky in the spring of '78, and so went up there and went through spring practice with them. Fran Kersey was the head coach at the time. And so I was going to be at the University of Kentucky as a what they called back then. They had part-time coaches. You were allowed to have 4 part-time coaches, and you didn't have to go to school, and you were paid the equivalent of a scholarship, whatever that was, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the case may be. And so that's what I was going to do. And I was home in Florida packing, getting ready to go to Kentucky, and I got a call from a lady, and she said, Charlie Pell, Coach Pell would like to talk with you. Well, I thought I just said somebody's pulling a joke on me. I didn't. I said, okay, right, okay. So anyway, Charlie Pell gets on the phone and wants to know if I'd be interested in coming up and talking to him about going to Clemson. So I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So anyway, drove up and met with Coach Pell, and he offered me the job of coaching the running backs, which was, really a great opportunity. And then I would live in the dorm and kind of run the dorm, the athletic dorm. And so, I decided to do that. And, that obviously 78 was a great year at Clemson. Won, we were 10-1, and then Coach Pell left to go to Florida, and Coach Ford was the assistant head coach, and of course got the job, and before the bowl game with Ohio State, and so then he gave me a full-time position beginning in '79. So just very fortunate, very blessed to be in the right place at the right time, and Coach Ford was great, to this day one of my very closest friends, and had wonderful 11 years with him, and just a great. We had a great run. Obviously, what Clemson's done the last few years has kind of overshadowed what we did, but certainly we had the first national championship, and Coach Ford had a tremendous career.
All that time you spent at Clemson, one of the guys that I know was on the staff for at least 3 or 4 years is Wayne Bolt. We actually had him on the show here recently. What are your memories and so forth with Coach Bolt?
Well, we don't have long enough for me to.
That's kind of what I figured.
I mean, and there's a lot of stories I could tell, but we couldn't. You couldn't put them on the air.
It's a family-friendly show.
That's right. No, Wayne was. I tell you, Wayne was. A great guy, great football coach. He coached the tight ends, and he was not he was a so-called graduate assistant type guy. He wasn't a full-time guy at first, and then was elevated near the end. But Wayne had obviously a great background with Coach Dye, and was apparently a very good player at East Carolina. But great experience working with Wayne for, I guess, 4 years. I'm thinking from 86 to 89. I think that's probably correct. But just a heck of a football coach, and just a fun guy to be around. Always kept things light, and just a good guy to have on your staff. And of course, still stay in touch with him, and like I said, just a great guy and great football coach.
Your fourth season at Clemson, that 1981 season where you guys won the national championship. Can you talk a little bit about that season? And specifically, I know you coached the running backs, but I wanted to ask you about Perry Tuttle, because I'm a North Davidson High School alum, and that's of course Perry Tuttle's alma mater as well.
Yeah, we were coming off of 79 was a fairly good year. Won 8 ball games. Got beat by Baylor in the Peach Bowl, and then we go into 1980, and we're thinking Coach Ford may get fired. I mean, we're 5-5. Just got the devil beat out of us by Maryland. I mean, really bad. And came back, and we're playing South Carolina. South Carolina's 8-2. They've got George Rogers. I mean, they're a really good football team. Anyway, and that's in Clemson history. That's the Orange Pants game where Coach Ford brought out the orange pants, before the game. And anyway, and we find a way to win the game, 28-9, 28-6, 27-6. I'm sorry. And, so have a little bit of momentum going into the off season, and had just about everybody coming back. And, but no expectations of a national championship. I mean, we're just hoping to compete for a conference championship. But, we were very talented, in certain areas. I mean, we had, you mentioned Perry Tuttle. Perry Tuttle was a great player. Homer Jordan, our quarterback, was a very, very good player. Defensively, we had Terry Kennard, who was a Hall of Fame guy. We had Jeff Davis, who was a great player. We had Jeff Bryant, who was a first-round, number 6 guy in the NFL draft that year. So we had a nucleus of great players, and then a bunch of just good, hard-working guys that were, that played hard and worked hard and all of that. And, kind of started off slow, nothing spectacular. Then the third game of the year, we played Georgia, who was the reigning national champions, and had a 15, 16 game winning streak. And they come to Clemson, and we beat them 13-3. And, that was Herschel's, second season. And they turned the ball over 9 times. And, so that, kind of got us going, and, just from there, just one game at a time, and got better and better. And of course, the highlight of the regular season was the North Carolina game. Dick Crum was the head coach at North Carolina. We were, I think, number 2 in the country. Maybe I don't know, 4 or 5. I mean, they were right up there. They had 1 loss, and we went up there, and great football game, and beat them 10-8, and and then of course finished the regular season, and then of course played Nebraska and beat them in the Orange Bowl. But just one of those magical seasons. You're lucky. We didn't have any major injuries, and everything just kind of came together.
So after the '89 season, your time at Clemson came to an end. That staff, and you had the opportunity to go out to Waco and join Grant Taft's staff there at Baylor as the offensive coordinator for the first 3 years, and then you of course became the head coach for 4 years from '93 to '96. So talk about that decision and the opportunities that you had on the table before you joined Grant Taft's staff.
Well, I always thought, and actually was told by the administration at Clemson, that I would be the next head coach when Danny. I think they thought that that Danny would eventually go to Alabama, and I was told if Coach Ford leaves, you're going to be the next head coach. So I was very content with all of that. And then, Coach Ford ends up, being fired, which is another whole story, but, unnecessarily. I mean, it was, one of those things that didn't have to happen, but anyway, it did. And so, when that happened, they said, we're going to interview, we want you to come in for an interview. Well, I did, and this was on a Saturday morning, and I was told by the athletic director, you just stay home and wait by the phone. We're going to call you. And what had happened, they had interviewed, they wanted to interview Fisher DeBerry and Ken Hatfield. And, in the way things go in those circumstances, Fisher DeBerry ended up not interviewing. I mean, they just couldn't work it out with him as far as because they needed to move quickly. And they didn't think Ken Hatfield would be interested in the job. Because he was at Arkansas, which is where he played and all of that. And I think had a new contract that he was getting ready to sign, what have you. Well, what they were going to do is say, we offered the job to Ken Hatfield or, whatever, but, he didn't take it. So, we're going to elevate Chuck. Well, that all sounded good. Well, then when they did talk to Ken Hatfield on later that Saturday, actually they had met him on Friday, but, didn't know that he was interested. And then Saturday night, come to find out that he's very interested in the job. And of course he was very, very successful. And, they ended up hiring him during the night. He never visited Clemson or anything. And, but, he was unhappy with Frank Royals and what have you. So anyway, so Sunday morning I wake up and not only am I not the head coach, but I don't even have a job. So anyway, that's the way, coaching goes. But, so anyway, I spoke with, numerous people and, actually had a great conversation with Lou Holtz and thought I may go to Notre Dame and that didn't work out. And then, Grant Taft, head coach at Baylor, called Coach Ford, and Coach Ford told him, he said, you hire Chuck, and he said, if you're not happy after a year, he said, I'll pay you a salary. So I think that convinced Coach Taft, to at least bring me out. And so, I went out and visited with him and, we hit it off and, he's a wonderful person and Christian and and so it was a great opportunity for me, to go to Texas and to go to a place like Baylor that, was struggling a little bit on offense and, he gave me free rein to do whatever I wanted to do. We changed the whole numbering, system, how we did everything. And he said, you just, whatever you want to do on offense, you do it. and we did, and and we're very successful, in the couple years, 3 years that I was the offensive coordinator.
And then so in '93, you became the head coach for those 4 seasons from '93 to '96. Mm-hmm. And in your initial game, I should say, if I'm not mistaken, it was against Fresno State, and that's when Trent Dilfer was their quarterback, and you guys won a shootout.
Yeah, we did. You're right. Dilfer was the quarterback. They were ahead. I don't know. It was 39 to not very many. I mean, 13 or 23 something, and then we came back and won the game right at the end, 42 to 39, and we won that game. And our second game was somebody that wasn't real good. I think maybe Louisiana Tech, and then the third game was Texas Tech, which was a big rival, and we were able to win that game. And I can remember, Bubba. I remember going to work every day and said, Lord, please, because I was thinking, I'm kind of beginning to think, this coaching isn't so hard after all, And I said, Lord, please, help me to be humble, and sure enough, we go to Houston and they're winless and they beat us. And we end up, we lose our quarterback, gets hurt, and we end up struggling. End up 5-6 the first year.
In '94, that's what. Obviously, this is the old Southwest Conference days. Your final season, you guys moved into the Big 12. We'll talk about that. But in the second year of your head coaching time there at Baylor, that's what I guess Texas A&M. I saw, and they were 10-0-1, but some sort of NCAA situation going on there. So you had your typical, your everyday 5-way tie atop the conference. So that was a very unique situation.
Yeah, as you said, A&M was the dominant football team during my time at Baylor, but they were on probation and eligible for the championship. And there was a 5-way tie. Like you said, we played Texas on national TV in the last game of the year, and they beat us pretty badly. And which had we won, then we would have been the champion. But as it turned out, it was a 5-way tie, and so we ended up. We went to the Alamo Bowl at that time, and we was, I think, and then played Washington State, and they were actually a very good football team, and they beat us 10-3, I think. Anyway, ended up 7-5 that year, and then the following year, we were actually a pretty good football team, and ended up 7-4, and we were going to the Independence Bowl. And then the last game of the season, Coach Ford let me down, and LSU beat Arkansas and became bowl eligible. They were 6-5, and so the Independence Bowl, of course, picked LSU over taking us. And back then there weren't the plethora of bowls that there are today,
right?
And so we were 7-4, but didn't it wasn't anywhere to go. And so we and then after that year, we got a new president, got a new athletic director, and it was one of those things. The president said, "Hey, we want you to, I want you to be here as long as I'm here. We don't give you a lifetime contract and all this stuff." And anyway, I was not real smart. I wasn't real savvy. I didn't have an agent. I just thought that, I could, talk to people and negotiate myself. And so the new athletic director, he kind of came in and he was going to, he played a little bit hardball, I guess. Anyway, long story short, I got an extension and got a raise and all that, but didn't get the long-term contract that I wanted. And so that's when, the next year we were going into the Big 12, which was a different animal than when you were in the Southwest Conference. I mean, at that time you had SMU, you had TCU, you had Houston, you had Rice. I mean, there were 3 or 4 that you pretty much could count on winning. Going into the Big 12, with Texas A&M, with Texas Tech, now you're playing Nebraska, you're playing Oklahoma, and Oklahoma wasn't as good. They weren't that good then, but, you still beat Oklahoma. It's just a little bit different and a little bit tougher. And, we didn't, we were started off 3-0 and ended up 4-7. Lost, I think, 4 games by a total of, 10 points or something like that. I mean, just one of those years. And so, get fired after the season.
So during that time in Waco, I know on your staff you had a couple of guys that have gone on to become very good FBS head coaches. Mike Gundy, who's going into, I think year 15 now at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
What a job he's done there in Stillwater. He was your quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, and then you also had Larry Fedora. He had been on Coach Taft's staff, and then he remained on your staff, and then obviously he's done great things at Southern Miss and then also at North Carolina.
Yeah, Larry was a graduate assistant when I got there. He had just come on board, and so we worked together for 3 years. And when I got the job, I elevated Larry to a full-time position. And I like to remind him, that his first salary was $25,000 a year. So, he's even though things didn't end up, like we wanted at North Carolina, Larry's done very, very well, and he's a heck of a football coach and certainly a great guy. But yeah, we had those 2. Andy McCollum, who ended up being the head coach at Middle Tennessee State.
Right.
Was on our staff, and like you said, Mike Gundy, and a number of other guys that have gone on and done very well, as assistant coaches, and several of them actually in pro football.
Yeah, with Coach Gundy, most people think of one thing: I'm a man, I'm 40. So I know when that came out, I guess it was like 12 years ago now, something like that. I think it was 2007, but I just remember the first time I saw that clip on Sports Center or wherever it was, and just laughing, and I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched it since when I've needed a good laugh. And one of my favorite parts of that rant was when he said, "This letter was written to me by a mother," and then he paused and he said, of children. And we just started laughing. He was so ticked off that he said something like that. And I thought, well, what else would it be, a mother? But anyway, I know you had to get a good laugh out of that as well.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Mike, Mike, he could be a little bit, he could get, a little bit riled up, but, what a, really good guy. And, like you said, what a phenomenal job, he has done, and consistently done, at a place that's, not the easiest place in the world to win. Now, they put a lot of money into it, and their facilities are good, and of course they can, they can go to, if you're close to Texas, there's so many players in Texas that, you can win, but, you're still competing with Oklahoma every year, and, and with Texas and what have you. So it's tough, but he's done a great job.
So after your time at Baylor came to an end, and talk about your time after that. I know you got back into the high school ranks and also did some other things, and you spent more than a decade. I want to say it was 13 years at Goose Creek, right outside of Charleston, and had a very successful run there where you took over a program that was winless and built them into a state champion.
Yeah, Bubba. Well, I stayed out of coaching for 1 year. We were stayed in Waco, and actually I worked with coach staff with the American Football Coach Association, as a volunteer. And then had the opportunity to go to the University of South Carolina as offensive coordinator with Brad Scott. So, we're being from the eastern part of the country. I absolutely loved Texas. But, I had, daughters that were getting ready to go into high school, and, I felt like it was, my parents were still, at that time, of course, alive and wanted to get back this way. So we took the job at South Carolina. And, it was it was kind of a mess. That was Brad's last year, and, just a real tough season. And, so he gets fired. And so, had an opportunity to go back to Texas. But, I had just got my children, like I said, one of them was in high school and one of them was in middle school, and decided to stay, in South Carolina. And that's when we got out of coaching for 3 years and got into, actually bought a bunch of Subway restaurants and opened a couple restaurants in Columbia. And, that's kind of what we were going to do. And then, went through a divorce, and, I just decided after 3 years, I said, I'm going to find me I had custody of 3 teenage daughters, and I said, I'm going to find me a nice high school coaching job. And, and anyway, so Goose Creek, there were 2 jobs that were 4A, with the highest classification jobs that were available, Goose Creek and Easley. Both of them were winless the year before. And I chose Goose Creek because I was also going to be the athletic director, and it was close to the beach. So I bought a place at the beach, and I was just going to kind of live at the beach and coach and downsize and all of that good stuff. And so that's what we did, and went to Goose Creek. Then eventually, about a year after my first year, well, like I said, they were winless before I got there. My first year, we were 1-10, and we weren't very good at all, but we got better and better and became a little bit competitive, had a chance to win some games. And met my current wife at the end of that first season, and she's was a physician in Columbia. And so anyway, we got married, and so we kind of commuted back and forth over for the next 12 to 13 years. But anyway, yeah, we went from 1-10. The next year we won 5 and actually made the playoffs. And the next year we won 8, and then went on and just got better and better and better. And from 2010 till I left in 2014, we were 62-5. I mean, we were the best team in the state for most of that time, and won the state championship in 2011. And actually 2012 we were better, and we were actually ranked I think 11th in the country. And it's another long story. I don't want to bore you with it, right, but we had a young man that was a special ed student that had come during the summer, and his transcript, as it turned out, his transcript didn't have all the accurate information that it needed on it. And so he played in 5 games. The earliest he ever went into a game, we were 40-some points ahead. And I think played a total of 13 plays. Anyway, he was going to go out for basketball. So when they looked at his transcript, actually we had received an updated transcript from what we had in the summer. And, it appeared, which actually turned out not to be true, but it appeared that he had been in high school for 5 years. And so we self-reported, and we were disqualified by the high school league. We appealed it to the court, and the judge ruled in our favor, we were allowed to play one game, but then we had to go back before the high school league, and they ruled us ineligible.
Yeah, I recalled hearing that story back when it happened, and I'd forgotten about it. But when I was preparing for the interview, I actually came across it again and heard the stuff that you just mentioned, and it was just one of those like just mind-blowing things. Like you said, it's just totally unfair, but it's life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was totally. And as a matter of fact, I mean, we proposed a bunch of legislation that passed the next summer that would prevent anything like that from ever happening anyway. I mean, there certainly there's rules you have to follow. And like I said, in hindsight, if you really go back and look at the young man's record, he was not ineligible, but on the face of it, it looked like he was. And so, they acted and then we were having to try to react to it and, it just didn't work out. But, you don't penalize a whole bunch of young men for, in our case, all we were trying to do was help a young man. I mean, he certainly didn't help us win any football games, at all. But, it is what it is. It was a lesson learned, but, like I told our players, life's not always fair, but, you have to deal with it and, got to get up and keep going. So, that we did.
Well, one other question I had before we talk about what you're doing in the present is, you had a very unique perspective on the South Carolina Clemson rivalry. That's what you obviously spent 12 years at Clemson as opposed to just one at South Carolina, but you obviously coached at both of those schools, and then with a decade plus in the high school ranks in South Carolina, I'm sure you probably sent players to both of those schools and communicated with coaches during those years. That goes without saying. So talk about your perspective on the South Carolina Clemson rivalry.
Well, both of them, have great resources. Both of them have great fans. Clemson made a commitment. It's been, obviously Dabo, when he started off, I mean, he made some mistakes, didn't hire the right people, but, he grew into the job is kind of the way, I see it. But then Clemson, when Radakovich came in, they made a commitment financially for facilities, which they've got probably the best facilities in the country, and in paying coaches. I mean, their staff is as well compensated as any in the country. And South Carolina, they are making a stronger commitment. I mean, they're upgrading their facilities, and they're paying their coaches more. But, at this point, Clemson is just, they're ahead of everybody. I can share, for example, I had, my wife and I were in Raleigh for a meeting probably 3 years ago now, and had dinner with Coach Fedora and his wife. And I asked him, I said, how are you going to compete with Clemson? I mean, and he said, Coach, he said, they're paying their defensive coordinator at that time. I think it was $1.5 million, $2 million, whatever. He said, I'm paying my guy $500,000. He said, they're paying 2 offensive co-coordinators $750,000 each. I'm paying my guy $400,000. He said, we can't. We're not going to. And it's a matter of commitment. And like Larry said, he wasn't complaining. He was just stating the facts.
Right.
And I mean, you got to play like North Carolina. They talk a good game. They want to be committed, but they're not. They don't put the money. They don't put the kind of money that Clemson has been willing to put up, and Clemson is seeing the rewards of that. Dabo has done a fantastic job of hiring good people and because they're paying them well, and because of the culture there, and Clemson's a great place to live, they've been able to keep those guys. Now eventually, they're going to leave. Some of them are going to leave for head jobs, but they're not going to leave for just any job because they've got it too good at Clemson. And so, the stability that he has been able to maintain with that staff, has been, just phenomenal. And, South Carolina is getting better. But they got, I don't know how they're going to catch Clemson. I've got a real good friend on the South Carolina staff, and like he told me, he said, we're getting some of the best players in the state. Clemson's getting the best players in the country. I mean, how do you close that gap? It's going to be very difficult.
Earlier in the interview, you referenced how back around the turn of the century, that's what you had the experience there in the late 90s and early 2000s with the Subway franchises and so forth. And so that brings me to the present. I know within the last year or two, since you retired from coaching, the Comeback Shack is anybody that is an App State fan or goes to Boone, North Carolina is probably aware of the Comeback Shack. It's a terrific place to eat. And so talk about how you opened your own franchise down there in Charleston.
What we, I did, I've owned the Subways since 1999, and always was looking for, different opportunities outside of coaching. And so in 2013, I heard about one of my daughter's. We've had a place at Sugar Mountain for many years, and so we spent a good bit of time up there. And so one of them was up there, and they said, we went to this place called Comeback Shack, and their exact words were, "It's better than Five Guys," And so I said, okay. So I went online. I said, surely it's got to be a chain. No, just one location. So I tried to call, couldn't get anybody on the phone. And so my wife and I went up, and we actually went up and ate on a Saturday. And we're just blown away with the quality of the food, the whole concept, everything about it. And I saw a lady walking around, and I said, I bet she's one of the owners. And so introduced ourselves to her. Sure enough, she was the wife of one of the two brothers. And we talked for a good while, and she said, can you come back tomorrow and meet my husband? And I said, sure. So we did, and we just hit it off with them. And over the course of about 6 months of going back and forth, and meeting and what have you, we decided that we would partner on opening a Comeback Shack in Charleston. They spent Charleston was their go-to vacation spot. So they were real familiar with Charleston and very, and liked the idea of having something down here. So we, like I said, partnered in 2013, 2014. And it just took us, we found a piece of property, but, with zoning, with finance, with all the things you got to go through, we didn't get open until June of 2018. And we've now been open over a year. And our objective is to open 5 in the Charleston area and then go from there. So, we're not franchising or anything at this point. We own we're going to own them ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I'm talking about my partners, the Pruitts, and my family. We have a 50-50 partnership. And but we do have property that we've bought in the Somerville area. I don't, your listeners, a lot of them probably won't know what I'm talking about, but in Mount Pleasant, we're looking at a location there that we hope we can maybe do something there in the next few months as well. So anyway, and basically that's why after the 2014 football season, I decided to, after 40 years of coaching, to get out of it so that I could focus more of my time on this. Because this is exciting. You don't, very seldom do you have an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of something that I think has the potential to be, really, really special and really, really, it's like I told my partners, we can make it as big as y'all want to make it. I mean, we can have, 3 or we can have 300. I mean, it's just a matter of, of doing it. And, as you alluded to, you've been to Comeback Shack. I mean, the one in Boone, I mean, is a phenomenon. I mean, the business that they do there. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they're in a small, you've been there. It's not very large. And, of course, our building here is larger, and, of course, it's brand new and what have you. So, but that's exciting. And so, we're focused on that now and trying to get a few more open down here and then see where it takes us.
Like you said, when you made that comment, 3 or 300, and we can take this as big as we want to take it, that's what I remember when I first saw the Comeback Shack in Boone and how there was only 2 locations. I was very surprised. I said, how in the world? I said, as good as this place is, I said, it's only a matter of time. So needless to say, that's exciting to hear that it's becoming bigger and better. Potentially here in and I'm hoping you can get one here in the Charlotte area.
Well, we'll get there sooner or later.
but yeah, anything I've ever had from there is good. But Coach, you've been very generous with your time, and we certainly appreciate it. Really enjoyed talking about a variety of topics, and we look forward to hopefully having you back on down the road to talk some football this fall.
I would love to do that, and I appreciate very much you asking me to be a part of it, and certainly enjoy visiting with you.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, Bob. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Great job, Bubba, with Coach Reedy there, and I know that he had a lot of great stories, great insights there, and it's been really cool to have these coaches. And Bubba, I want to give you a shout out for getting that. I know Kyle's working; he always is good at getting athletic directors and coaches on too. So I know he'll have some more for us too. And the 50 for 50, let's not forget that. I want to promote that again because there's a lot of people that are listening to that. And thank you. As we record this, Bubba, do you want to give a total so far of what we have in July?
Yeah, and that's what the last 2 months had been record months for the year, and we've blown that out of the water right here as we're recording this on the final day of July, and we're knocking on the door of 6,000. So we're going to be just below or just over 6,000 listens, and that's our second best month ever behind last December, where you had the hiring of Jon Gilbert and Mike Houston and so much going on.
And the reason I bring that up is I know there are people that don't understand podcasting. They don't understand how things work. Listens are the way we go by rate. It's kind of like the same thing as ratings. And 10,000 is professional status. So we're not too far away where we're getting there. And I tell you what, guys, if things go as well as I think they will for football season and beyond with all our athletic programs, we could be knocking at that 10,000. Definitely 10,000 a month. Definitely by next year.
Yeah, absolutely. By when? Next June. I think we'll hit it this fall.
We'll see how it turns out, and certainly the season's will go, I think, very well. We'll be obviously talking about that. We have, as Bubba talked about, Friday is the first. I can't believe tomorrow is being Thursday, the first day that guys are going to be reporting, and then of course we have the beginning of practice. Fall practice is Friday. Yep. Where's the month gone?
Fall practice is starting Friday. Guys report tomorrow. Of course, they're already there. So it's here, guys, and time to enjoy it.
It is, guys. Also, I want to mention before we go, I know that we've had a big podcast, but I want to mention to you guys as well that I talked to Dana from Dana's Global Travel. We're going to have her on. The three of us will be able to talk to her next week. So we're working on the beginning of next week. But while we have a chance, guys, we can talk about the cruise. I think we're going to have to talk to Stacy Kyle again to twist Bubba's arm and a great family vacation. And it's going to be from Charleston to the Bahamas, the middle of July next year, the 15th or 19th. It's going to be awesome. And I know, Kyle, you're going, your sister's going, my whole family is going. I think we have about 5 cabins already that we have lined up for people to go. So if you're interested, it's very easy. You just call Dana at 919-830-4161, 919-830-4161. Dana's Global Travel. You can just you can email her too, but you can actually Google that, Dana's Global Travel, and you'll find out more information. Just ask her about the Sports Objective Pirate Cruise. We're so excited because a lot of people have shown interest, and we're going to kick off things with her early next week about how they can sign up. And certainly you can actually sign up right now, guys, if you're maybe a little low on funds after the summer vacation. Get this, $25 per person will put you in the Sports Objective group for the cruise, and that money will be put towards your actual deposits. It's probably about, like we were talking, I think, Kyle, last podcast, about $100 a person is on average, something like that, for the cruise for deposits, and that $25 will hold your place. So, again, give her a call at 919-830-4161, and we'd love to be with you cruising next year. I mean, what more than a pirate on a cruise ship?
Absolutely. And as always, everybody, you can follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at TheSportsOBJ, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram at TheSportsOBJ.
And you can email us, too. You can email us, thesportsobj@gmail.com. You can do that. Guys, as always, another great podcast. And do you have any final thoughts before we go?
Just ready for practice to start.
It's going to be interesting, and I appreciate you guys once again for all the great listens in July. I look forward to August. And in the meantime, for Bubba Rosenbaum and Kyle from LaGrange Barber, I'm Dave Richmond for the Sports Objective Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Join us next time as the guys will be objective, and the objective is sports.